Hi, I'm Joanna Walatalo, and today I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about some of the revisions that I've had to do in regards to book illustrations, what type of instructions I've gotten, and how I interpret those instructions and redo illustrations for an author. So, without further ado, I will show you the process I have gone through. I have been very privileged to be able to work with Modern History Press and the publishing there to get connected with some very amazing authors. One of them is Anne Dahlman. She has published 2 of the Caddy Whirlwind Thunder mystery book series and is in the process of publishing a 3rd one. And I have had the opportunity to illustrate the inside of all 3 of them. So, let's see, show you some of the final illustrations and how they look in the book, if I can find some. So there's one of the final illustrations published in a book, and I get to have my name as interior illustrations on the copyright page. And the 3rd book we're working on, I received the request to draw an illustration that is the view looking over grandmother's shoulder as she is driving in her car. Her long gray hair is fastened in a bun at the back of her neck or in one long braid down her back. And no reference pictures for that. Also, no concept as to what's outside of the car or what year the car is, how old it is, what time frame the story took place. But I went through some of my old sketchbooks because I knew that I had drawn some pictures from when I was young, sitting in the back seat of a car with somebody driving. And I found this drawing that I had done from life as a 16-year-old sitting in the back of the car during driver's training. And I thought that composition looks pretty accurate for what she was requesting. So I couldn't find, or I didn't take the time to find the original paper version in my sketchbook at the moment, just because I have like 67 sketchbooks. And when I go looking for an old picture, I tend to spend several hours with all of the sketchbooks laid out on the floor. But I had already done that and made a digital copy to work from. So this was my original sketch done from life that I thought would work as a good composition for the illustration request. And from working with that, I then drew this, which is a little bit cleaner version. And at the time that I drew it, the only instructions I had were the ones I just read to you. Basically, grandmother driving car, view from the back seat, hair either in a braid or in a bun. And with no further information, this is what I created. The one line of the face made her look very, very young, and because it's in pen, I couldn't do much to correct that, but I went ahead and finished the rest of the picture anyhow because the instructions were fairly vague with very little detail on what type of car. I decided to leave the background that would be outside of the windows completely blank, partly because if the author wanted a specific background, I could go back and fill it in later, and partly because I felt that overall, if I added too much in the background detail, it would take away from the focus of the drawing. So I submitted that for review. I did not expect it to be accepted because I had very little information to go on, and because the woman driving looks very, very young. And I didn't know exactly how to correct that in this version. But before redoing it, I wanted some feedback. So I went ahead and submitted it. And it was rejected. And it was rejected with the only instructions for correcting it was to make the grandmother look a bit older. And so I was very impressed and very excited about having that little of a revision in the work. So I went ahead and redid it and tried to make the grandmother look a little bit older. I was also then given about a paragraph around that part of the story that also indicated that she wore a ring on her finger and had more flowing overshirt on. So I tried to incorporate those aspects into the drawing while keeping the rest of it the same. And at that point, I submitted it, and it was rejected a second time with the suggestion of plumping out her arm a little bit. Her arm looked a little bit too skinny. And this was partly, if you look, the angle of the arm is not quite accurate. Because I'm trying to do this from very old reference sketches and from my imagination, I felt like I had the angle not quite right. So I redid it a third time and tried to correct the angle of her arm slightly and make it look a little bit plumper while keeping the other elements that the author did accept as similar as I could. So this third version was accepted, and hopefully it will make it into the final book. It will be the third book in her series. And this just, to me, it takes a long time to redo every little detail as you go through when you're working in pen and ink, because you can't erase, and I'm not a digital artist, so I'm not one to mess with it digitally to change the angle of her arm. I have to go through and redo the entire thing from scratch. I do copy it. I do use a Lightbox when I have my own template and put it under and then trace in pencil so that I can speed up the process for the elements that were correct. But I still have to go through with pen and ink by hand and redo each one. But that, to me, really helps me look at my work critically, and it helps me progress and grow as an artist. And I don't really get discouraged about having to redo things like this because I'm working with someone that gives me very clear instructions as to what they want, which is very nice. And every time I do it, I improve my skill. If I weren't redoing this one, I'd be doing some other piece of artwork that may or may not sell. So I might as well take the time to redo it and produce a very good, high-quality piece of artwork that will be used out there in the real world and have the author happy with the final product. That's really my end goal, is if the customer is happy, I'm happy, and I'm happy to redo things up to 3 times in order to get them correct, because each time I do, I learn and I grow from it. So never give up, always do your best, and don't be afraid to have to redo things multiple times to get them right. You will learn, you will grow, it will get easier, and you'll produce some beautiful artwork in the meantime. Hope that helps. Have a good one. Good luck with everything.